have to leave early. I just got a text, so I'll leave a little after 9.
No problem. We'll be
Yeah.
done. Good morning, everyone. This is the Washington Area Highway Transportation Committee. It is Monday, October 31st, 2022. And Gina, can we do a roll call?
Craig Miller.
Yes.
No, Craig.
Oh, great.
Ed Fisher, Stephen O'Connor,
Here.
Ray Frankenberg, Bob Engelman,
Here.
Bill Stratman.
Here.
Mayor Hagedorn, Joe Hopmeyer,
Here.
Sandy Lucy,
Here.
Abby Camp, Bill Miller,
Present.
Tim Brinker, Chad Briggs, Jeff Niemeyer, John Milders.
Here. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And again, good morning, everyone. This is a tough day to get up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you all for showing up and whatever. First item on the agenda is always the approval of the minutes from last month. Any
Make a motion.
questions? Corrections?
Second.
You have a motion and a second to approve them. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Nothing on Amtrak. Do you have anything on Amtrak, John?
As far as operations, I haven't heard much. We did, or Wayne and I and Darren had a meeting, or Wayne, Darren and I had a meeting a couple weeks ago regarding the depot and the investment that Amtrak's putting into that. We did get a dollar number. They're thinking anywhere from 1.5 to $2 million actually is what they're going to invest in the access loading ramp and things to the actual depot itself, some ADA upgrades, that sort of thing. So best schedule we had was somewhere in 2024. They're probably about 70% completed with design, but some positive things happened basically between the depot and the tracks with a new loading ramp and new pavers, things in the back. So all positive that. We're hoping to coordinate that with our Front Street project to where, one would occur either simultaneously or one right after the other. So that's a pretty big deal.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Didn't hear
So.
about that. That's a super.
Weren't they cutting one train off too for a while?
The little bit that I do know is that they were cutting one train off for a minor amount of time,
Yeah.
few months,
Yeah.
due to, I think it was like a mechanic issue that they couldn't keep them running or rolling because just a shortage in the mechanic labor market. But I don't know when, I don't know the details of it. It's just generally speaking, that's what's going on.
Very good. Anything else on Amtrak? Hearing none. Highway 47, Missouri River Bridge. Anything, Steve?
Ed, I talked to the resident engineer, and he said the contractor was on the river a couple weeks ago with a barge and a man lift, and they replaced a couple of lights, replaced a cord, replaced some components. They couldn't get to the southwest corner of the bridge because of low water, so they're going to come back out next week with a different piece of equipment and try to analyze that. Then he hopes the programmer and the contractor will get everything finalized pretty soon, shortly.
Good.
So it's
Well,
moving slowly, but it's moving.
It's moving. Very
Yeah.
good. Thank you. Anything else on the Highway 47 bridge? Anybody? Highway 47 Corridor Committee? John?
We haven't met.
Jim?
Jim, anything? I mean, the only thing that I do somewhat know from the Franklin County Transportation meeting was there's some movement, I think, on a rail operation towards Union that goes over the tracks. And I believe Commissioner Brinker was working with that rail company to try to get that bridge widened basically on their dollar. But that's part of that's a big component of the project. That's why I
It
bring
is a
it
big,
up.
it actually needs to be raised, does it not?
Yeah, I don't know the details of what it is,
I
but
don't either. Jim, if you
Yeah.
can
And
expound on it, it'd be great.
The rail service that goes over Highway 47, allows for 2 lanes of traffic under it. And the thought process was that if the entities here in Franklin County endorse the takeover of that rail, they could apply for some funding through the state to enhance the rail service, to get it from a 10-mile-an-hour rail service to a 25-mile-an-hour service. And if that's the case, the new rail company that purchased that rail would cooperate by replacing the bridge that goes over 47 to allow for 4 or 5 lanes of traffic underneath it. It's not so much the height, it's the width,
Okay.
because it does bottleneck 47 at that point. MoDOT does not want to take that on themselves because to do a rail bridge like that would be outrageously expensive. So that was the status of it. It's really at the talking stage right now.
Conceptual, two different entities.
Conception, yeah.
2-3 different entities working together to try to solve that, which is positive for MoDOT and everyone.
Well, the committee, the Freightways Committee, which is part of East-West Gateway, we should push that project because we're part of East-West Gateway, and I think they'd like to see us have a project that came out of Franklin County regarding a rail improvement somewhere.
And Commissioner Brinker is on top of that, and
He
he's
is,
pursuing that actively at East-West Gateway. He is a board member.
Right, exactly.
So he is the one that brought it up. He was approached with it, and he's running with that at this point.
Fantastic.
Jim, with the new funding for the Highway 47 from Washington to St. Clair, is Union still going forward with the outer road to connect up across the Burbus?
I don't know the status of that from our standpoint, and I don't know if Stephen has any update on that. I know that MoDOT is studying all of the traffic at this point. There's ongoing studies to see how all the different highways impact those decisions.
Yeah, I mean, MoDOT's gonna look for capacity and safety improvements, but we've got a contractor lined up, but we're a long way away from figuring out
Okay,
how long,
all right,
what's gonna happen.
okay.
That freight line that you're talking about, and what would they actually do? Where would they haul traffic from? Into St. Louis and? Line?
It services the industrial parks in Union,
Okay.
and it connects at Labadee.
Labadee there's an offloading at Labadee, and I think it goes all the way to, I'm gonna get this right, Laclede maybe? It goes into
Lackland, it does.
Lackland, that's what it was.
That's the end of the rail service is Lackland.
Lackland.
But it does connect through Labadee and into the Union Pacific.
Well, it's an interesting opportunity because both Commissioner Brinker and myself sit on that committee, and they always ask us, is there anything that we can do to help freight movement in Franklin County? And seems like a perfect
But
perfect
it would
match
seem,
maybe to-
it'd seem to me if you could get a rail bridge widened, and that's a critical path to get 47 widened, you're helping freight on both ends.
I'm just saying.
Rail and
That's
over
what the
the
letter
road.
to them and asking. I mean,
Bang for the buck.
we are.
It opens up a lot of possibilities on the northbound 47 to get through that bottleneck.
Yeah, it's an opportunity. And if we can get some of the freight users that would utilize it in the movement of their freight from out here or back and forth, that would be ideal. To have someone that is and how it's being used, I guess, is the best way to describe it. So anyway, if you guys can check on, just see how it's being used, and maybe that'll all come out, but the usage of it.
And I think it will, at the next meeting, I'll probably have more
Yeah,
information on
well,
that.
just remind him that I think we have a small opportunity to do something and get them to participate, Freightways. So,
All right, I will.
good, thank you.
Thank you.
Franklin County Transportation Committee, I guess that pretty well,
Yeah, like I said, we met, met a couple weeks ago. That was, what we just talked about was one of the topics of conversation. The group did vote to endorse, I guess, this freight concept and allow the commission, I guess, to send a letter to East-West Gateway regarding that. The grants that we put out, the competitive grants, I believe there was 4 of them. There was just shy, I think, of 400,000 available. City of Washington, we applied for 100,000. We didn't quite get the amount. I don't remember the details of what it was, but we got upwards of $79,000, $80,000. And that would go towards an existing project right now to offset some of the inflationary concerns that we're all dealing with. The only other discussion was there a way to speed up the grant process? in the sense of applications go out in the spring that are due middle of summer. They get approved in the fall. Then they have to go to commission order, which would be in, I believe, when the minutes are approved. So essentially, there's a 9 to 10 month timeline to distribute this money. Is there a way to speed that up to make that only, let's just say 3-4 months? So that was discussed. I think, I know Jim's working on that to see if there is any opportunity for us to move that money along. I mean, in my opinion, I mean, the taxpayers, allowed us to have this money. The grants get approved by the committee like they're supposed to. Let's get the money on the ground as fast as we possibly can.
It's
Let's
all
not
your money. It's all
let
our
it sit.
money, basically. Yeah.
And I understand there's a process, but is there any opportunity there? But that was the main discussion. So,
Good.
If I might just quickly.
Please.
At the county level, we've requested Mark Piontek review the process and perhaps change the meeting schedule and add a meeting in the very near future to make all the approvals for the minutes. Even though it would be a short meeting, it would probably take almost 2 months off of the process.
Very good. Yes. Wow.
So we are pursuing that.
Very good.
thanks, Jim.
That's okay, anything else with those grants and those, did most of the ones that you, Washington asked for, I mean, they all participated, as I understand, all the different communities? Is that the ones you're talking about?
Yeah, there were only 4 applicants out of all the entities, which, there's 10, 12 entities, I guess. And how we voted and how we've been voting lately was that there's only so many dollars available. There's more requests than there are dollars, that each entity would get as big of a chunk as they possibly could get. So, who apply, right? So, yeah, we did get like I said, I want to say it was 80% of what we requested. I don't have those details off the top of my head, but it did offset, like I said, an existing project that we have going on, so.
Was that a new method just put into place? Because that's a great one. That's a super one.
No, I mean, we've done that for a couple of years now, and I know in the go ahead, I'm sorry.
As far as the awards go, the City of Washington, Special Road District, the City of Pacific, and the City of St. Clair were all awarded 93% of their requested amounts.
Yeah, fantastic.
And that was the available funds.
But we don't want to forget the lesser communities that don't have the wherewithal to even present a project in many cases.
It is a process, and we received 4 requests. They were legitimate requests, and we processed every one of those. None of them were rejected, none of them were reduced.
That's good.
We also discussed with that, and we encouraged all the communities to apply, right? That's what our role is. And we also looked at, is there any kind of hurdles in that application process that a community that may not have the resources like we would have, traffic studies, those type of things, is that really an important thing, for $400,000 to get distributed? So we've asked for that from all the other entities and to see if they had any ways to make the process better, more streamlined, and we'll talk about that next year.
Very good. So it's being talked about. Fantastic. That's the way it should be. Okay, MoDOT, Warren County. Joe, Jane. All right.
Okay, so as far as kind of the causeway study for flooding along 47, we did actually have an unfunded needs meeting with Boone Slick RPC here about 2 weeks ago, and that was sitting around tier 2, and we were able to move that up to tier 1, mainly because we had an increase in funding, so we moved a lot of stuff out of our tier 1 up to our STIP, and so we backfilled with that. So it did move up, but it's still on the unfunded.
Understand,
at
but
this
it's
time.
moving. That's the key, and it's on a program. It's on a.
And I also want to mention Teresa Lee has taken over as the director of the Boone Slick RPC, replacing Chad Agan. She's kind of got an agricultural background, I think, so I think she's going to be good from the one time I've met her so far. So I just thought I'd let you guys aware of that. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was winter ops. I'm sure you guys have seen some of the press release. We're down about 30% of our operators, so that's 1,000 operators we're going to be short. So I know your school districts and stuff go into Warren County. So, 47 is a primary route, so that one's going to be one of the first ones we're going to hit. But, some of those black tops, it's going to take us a little longer to get to all those. So I'm sure it's similar with St. Louis District and I know we're gonna be sending people back and forth, helping out each other, so, just because we're kind of short on people, and, you know, it's kind of a statewide issue, just plow operators, CDL people are hard to find, so, you guys got any questions for me? I know I only make it about every other meeting, but,
I complimented you on highway. Is it T or D, whichever one?
TT,
TT.
yeah.
Fantastic.
I drove it this morning, I thought it looked really good.
It does look very good.
Great, yeah.
It does.
I just wish I could have brought it all the way through town, but that actually changes to 94 there as you're
I
coming
understand.
from Dutch South, but, yeah.
And I also was telling Steve that going west on 100 out of Washington towards New Haven, that road is completely, actually all the way to just about, well, to the county line. It really looks good. I mean, it
Yeah,
looks like
and,
a brand-new road.
47 all the way from Washington to Hawk Point's gonna get done next year.
Those are
so.
key highways coming into this area. We forget that those are important portion of our transportation system that brings people into this area, those side roads. And they look good. They're starting to really look good, too. And you guys' side, too. I know you guys are spending a lot of money.
All righty, thank you.
Thank you very much. Washington Special Road District.
I can give a little bit of a update. Washington Special Road District is working, and I don't want to speak for them, but they're working on their South Point Road project. The city did participate in a little bit of that work by adding a water line as a secondary source of water from the city to Stonecrest and Fairfield subdivisions. That water line was charged about 6 weeks ago, so we're excited about that. Now we have additional water sources into those subdivisions that were in the works for almost 25 years. So that's a big deal. As far as the city's work on that, we did participate in putting the curb and gutter and things on the west side of the roadway underneath that water, or above that water line. The road district schedule, it is their project as far as the roadway goes, so I don't have the exact details, but they're working on getting their paving schedule. I've heard it would happen in the next week and a half to get that paved out. The curb and gutter's mostly in, and I think they're just kind of buttoning up some of the utilities and the driveways. So I think that road will be paved out here middle of November. And again, it's like anything construction, once it's done, everybody will be happy with it. So just ask for everybody's patience with that. Other than that, there are some opportunities, I think, with the city and the road district moving forward with South Point Road, because city limits does meander in and out of the district. The Stonecrest intersection, for example, is in need of a pavement repair in the next couple of years, and I know the road district also wants to pave out South Point all the way to Beaker coming up. So we'll be looking for more opportunities to work together on those projects, which, again, I think is beneficial for everybody. Other than that, I can't, like I said, speak for them too much, but.
Yeah, the new subdivision of Beaker Road, what is it, Northern Lights?
Oh, yeah, yep.
That's being excavated, it looks huge.
Yeah, I could probably, that's a good time to talk about that. So, yeah, Rabbit Trail Drive, as part of the city's comprehensive plan from the dead end where it sits today to Beaker Road has been approved by the city. The city is actually constructing that roadway with its own dollars that we went out to bid. It has a completion date of middle of June of 2023. So that roadway will be connected to Beaker. There are 30 plus, well, actually there's 60 plus homes going in at that dead end. 30 of those are already under construction. The remaining 30 are being graded right now. So there'll be utilities extended, and then there'll be a secondary access for everyone along Rabbit Trail. Now, the other project that we're working on to positively provide some relief on Rabbit Trail at Phoenix Center 100 is an east-west connection just north of the Arbors to go over to the Stonecrest, not Stonecrest subdivision, but go over to Phoenix Center Drive, essentially, to allow people an east-west connection. There really are only two east-west connections, just north, 100 being one of them, and then 5th Street. So the idea there is provide another secondary east-west connection in between there to allow people to get in from your larger blocks of residential to your larger blocks of commercial and spread that traffic around. Again, that's all part of the plan to relieve some congestion along Rabbit Trail. In addition, we're going to be applying for a CMAQ grant at 100 Phoenix Center and Rabbit Trail Drive to relocate Phoenix Center Drive to the south. That will come at a future date, 2026, 2027, if we are awarded that grant. So a lot of things moving along Rabbit Trail we're listening, to the people who live there, and we're trying to find those common sense solutions.
Very good.
So-
That's exciting for Washington, really. That whole area is just taking off. It's great. Anything else on Special Road District, Old Highway 100 Bridge? Steve, anything new?
There's nothing new.
Nothing new?
Yeah, no report other than we're coordinating with MoDOT on maintenance until
Good.
they can get it replaced.
Sounds good. Airport.
Airport, a lot moving at the airport. Hangars, we have a pre-construction meeting on Wednesday of this week to get that project kicked off. It's actually a pretty good time to do that because they can do a lot of the grading work this winter. It's a 300-plus day contract just due to the procurement of the building. The building is a pre-engineered metal building. It is way out as far as schedule goes, so I think we'll see a lot of movement here pretty soon. We're excited about that. 8-bay hangars, eight hangar bays. They are modular with the ability to expand into the future. We're working on kind of how that looks like now, but it'll be a good project. I think we're the only hangar project going on in the state of Missouri right now, but there is a need. We have 30-plus people on the waiting list. It's kind of always been that way. We'll also be looking about how we rent into the future and those rental fees, because supply and demand obviously looks the prices need to maybe increase a little bit. So we're excited about that. What else do we have? We had a meeting with some entities neighboring the airport about future plans and things. We shared our plans with the runway extension and things, what our priorities are, and hopefully, there's a good form of communication there. We could get some communication started to make sure that all of our uses are, pulling in the same direction. So it was a positive meeting there. Other than that, a lot moving at the airport. It's been busy. We have a new renter that has a pretty large jet in our main hangar terminal. We approved that contract about 6 months ago. He is using a significant amount of fuel. So we'll see that spike in jet fuel as well, in improvement. He's been happy, but he's got a spot in that main hangar, which is taking up that space. So we're excited about that.
Good deal.
So that is one of our main source of income is fuel sales. I always find it interesting. We run a gas station, so the city does. So,
Good.
Don, what about Hoffman and his helicopter plan?
yeah, that was, I could hit on this a little bit, but yeah, that was part of the discussion with the entities next to us. I'm sure everyone read the paper. We were not aware of any of that until the article came out in the paper. It sounds like operations within the organization weren't quite aware of it either. So we sat down with them and we kind of just briefed them on what the future plans are at the airport regarding hangars, regarding the runway extension, just regarding everything. This is what we are doing in the next, 10, 15, 20 years. And if a helicopter operation happens adjacent to our airstrip, there are some things that we would have to negotiate with them to allow that to happen through the FAA. So when that article came out, we were taken off guard, but we were quickly brought up to speed, once we reached out to them. As far as where it goes from now, it's kind of in their court because they have to get some approvals through the FAA to do that operation. I do not know if they have applied for those. Once they do apply, or if they apply, the city would get notification of that. I also know that since they are not in Washington, the airport operates under Washington rules rather than Warren County zoning rules. So there's some other things that might come into play as well with Warren County. So long story short, it was a 30-minute discussion about what our plans are. I didn't get the feeling that they knew exactly what their plans were. So I think as long as we have a open line of communication, hopefully we'll be able to ensure that all needs are met into the future.
Good.
Does that give you anything.
Well, I noticed that the
A lot of
building,
words, but,
the building used to say Mid-America Coaches on it.
what's that?
Building used to say Mid-America Coaches.
Yeah,
They own that.
And they own that now.
correct. That's what we understand.
They own the 10 acres adjacent to the airport.
Got it. I mean, I don't want to dance around it,
I
but yes.
think that's
Yeah.
the reason for the press release
Yeah,
than anything.
yeah, yeah. It's pretty evident, yeah.
Who owns the property to the southeast of the airport? I know there's
Yeah, there's 20,
skeet shooting, something there.
Oh, that's the,
It's the
One of
BB
the,
Club.
one of the,
Jerry Hellebush.
Hellebusch, yeah. Jerry donated.
it's under some other name though. I can't remember what the, but I know that he's the one that started that operation.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And then I believe Jeff Wilson bought the old Barco building.
that's correct.
Very good.
There is a portion of property, Volkerding, just to the west. So if you look right there, just to the west. I didn't know if that what you were referring to, but that would be the parcel closest to where our hangars and things are going. Walter Volkerding. So,
Okay, that's great. It takes all the uncertainty out. Everybody's aware of what's happening and what,
the city did not own that property, and the city did not sell that property, and just to clarify, that is not airport property, and there is not airstrip access to that property right now.
The only other thing I would add is that it is part of the overall airport layout plan to utilize that property, but it's up to the city as to when we want to go ahead and move forward with any operations if we chose to go ahead and purchase the property. Right now, our focus has been, as you've heard John say, it's the hangars. See where we get with federal assistance for widening and expanding the runway, and then we'll see where we're at. So, we've got a lot of irons in the fire, so.
good stuff, though. Very good. Good report. Where are we up to here, guys? Team track?
No report.
The East-West Parkway, you pretty much touched on most of that right now.
Yeah.
Not in the,
I mean, the only thing I could add is the city also has a contract to extend High Street to the south. We are constructing 600 feet of that as well. That will add a box culvert. Here, I can kind of show you.
yeah.
Sorry. The dead end is essentially right here, right now. It extends High Street to essentially this tree line. Okay? There's another creek right here that gets a box culvert put in. And then as part of that development agreement, Sophia Drive will connect to that High Street section that gets constructed. So that'll give secondary access to the individuals in Autumn Leaf, which again, we believe will alleviate some of the congestion at Studerman and Highway A in that general area, because it allows these people then a secondary access in and out to High Street. So again, that's part of the East-West Parkway. It was added at a later date, but it's part of it, and we're excited about that. We've also have heard from the public some concerns regarding the intersection up here with the Casey's and people allowed to make left turns. We're aware of that. We did not want that to be a Phoenix Center Drive situation. Part of the agreement, or I think it was a special use permit, part of the special use permit to put in the Casey's, they paid us a sum of money to put in, right out, at a future date when it is necessary. So the question becomes is when is it necessary, and that's at our discretion. We believe that once the roadway gets connected, that would trigger that to be necessary, and a right in, right out would be constructed there. That means that you would be able to enter Casey's, do what you need to do, and then leave through the back and go to Don to leave, rather than short circuit that and take a left. To again, make sure that we don't have a Phoenix Center Drive situation at the intersection. So,
Well, I guess a lot depends on what goes on this lot down here, correct?
yeah, there, we,
Well, it does, but the right of way's all.
The right-of-ways, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand, yeah.
yeah,
You guys are,
it's,
It's kind of standalone.
yeah, you got it covered.
I just want to make sure that, you know, Phoenix Center Drive obviously is a hot topic item at times, and we want to make sure that we're not doing anything. We don't want to make that mistake again.
That's right.
So,
There you go. There you go.
mistake's probably a strong word, but we don't want that to happen again.
Amazing what's happened to that area just in the last 10 years.
Sorry.
Yeah. All right, East-West Parkway, anything on the East-West Gateways, you know, they were asking for potential transportation issues for their 2050 plans.
I would just add that at what they were requesting at the time, and we would get notice from East-West Gateway on
Yeah,
projects,
I know you
but it is a very high-level discussion of, it's basically a survey. What do you want to see in the area? You know what I mean? It's very high level. So more trail opportunities, more pedestrian opportunities, more public transportation. Like it was a 5 questionnaire type thing. Very, very high level. So it didn't get into the details of what projects to put in, but I know that that's coming. So I think it's good that we keep it on here to be aware of it. But that's kind of where it sits right now.
Well, I think with the growth that's happening, you guys have been ahead of the curve, quite honestly. You see stuff happening before it's even, anybody else knows it and are upfront about it. It isn't like it used to be. It used to be if you didn't put a project in it somewhere, it just didn't get reviewed and wasn't even considered. Now it does. Now you guys are, again, I credit the city for being on top of growth and being on top of the future. That's the best you can say. All right, public transportation, anything new, anything?
I think the only thing there is we're going through the city's comprehensive plan, and there is some questions regarding public transportation and what the city feels about that. So if you're interested and you're adamant about adding a public transportation component, that probably would be the time to voice those concerns. I think there's a survey even on the front door of the city to get in, you know, to put a survey in there. But if public transportation is a major concern, make sure you voice those concerns during this time.
Well, I think to go back to the 2050 thing, this just isn't for Washington, it's for the whole, basically for the county. What's the county's plans for what do they see in the next 20 years? What does the school district see in the next 20 years? Where there could be new schools or whatever. That's the kind of stuff that if we do our planning right, it should be obvious to whoever is drawing up and doing these master plans. So, anyway, public transportation. We had you said there was a young lady or somebody who was gonna start coming here?
Yeah, she always says she's gonna come, but she never does.
What was her name again?
I think it's Kathy Bingham, or,
Could you get the phone number for her and I'll make
Yeah.
a point to call her
Sure.
and just invite her personally?
sure.
And then you talked about Teresa Lee. Is she on our mailing list now
No, but I'll get her information.
for this meeting?
Great.
Next meeting? Great. Okay, great. That's great. Darren, what you got?
I just want to mention we extend an invite to all of the highway or our transportation committee here for the East-West annual awards luncheon, because the city, in conjunction with the school district, has won an award for our cooperative agreement. I think it's on the connection. I can't remember the tag name. If Sal was here, he'd be able to go ahead and give you a dog and pony show about it. But basically, we're up for an award with, we've won the award as far as that goes. So we've got 2 tables rather than just the 1 table that we have. So if you can get back with us, if you can, for those of you that already did, great, thank you. But anybody else that wants to go, please let us know.
A nice event.
Yep.
Nice event.
And I should have a date in front of me on when it is, but I think
The
it's
17th
17th?
Of August?
You got it? Thank you. There you go.
Of
of
November?
November.
Correct.
And the mayor did call and say that he had a doctor's appointment or something for his wife, and he could not make it, so that's the reason he is not here today, but he normally would be here. Any other business that we have? Steve?
And the 100 study that, we had the traffic study done, and that's between Washington and I-44. We're looking to have a public meeting probably in the next month or so. Not got it finalized yet, but I've been talking with John a little bit, and we're looking for a location and a good date that works for everybody, so.
Well, I think there's a lot of the public that lives around there, and I think you mentioned it in one of the news clips or whatever,
Yeah.
that would like to participate in their thoughts, having lived around that area.
Yeah, I mean, we'll put out a public notice for everybody, and
Well,
there'll be
let-
message boards and everything else set up
Good. That'll be-
when we have the
yeah.
date determined. And
When do you think that is again?
we don't have the date
Don't have a date? Okay,
pinned down, but it'll probably be a month or so.
that's fine, that's fine.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up now.
Very good, thank you.
Bill, I just want to bring up something else too. I know Jeff kind of hit on a little bit just with our snowplow drivers.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that we just continue to understand the situation regarding supply chain, suppliers, and things for these type of projects. I know Joe asked me a question about a paving schedule. It all kind of plays into that a little bit. The current market situation with the construction industry, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but these dollars and the shortages that you're seeing right now do not have the infrastructure bill money that was approved, I think, late last year on the ground yet. Those dollars have not even hit the construction market yet. They're still in funding grant type world. In addition to that, the ARPA funds that the state of Missouri has, and it was upwards of $450 million that they're trying to get out the door, those projects have not been approved yet. So it's important to know that the current situation that we're seeing is just general economy things. There's still a lot of money that has to hit the market. And what you have there is then you have a lot of projects needing to get done, but not a lot of material to get them done and manpower to get those things done. So how do we as entities get those projects delivered, number one, at the lowest cost possible, and highest quality, but on schedules that people are happy with. And I don't know if those goals will match up every single time, and I think we just need to be cognizant of that. We as a city, we're trying to give plenty of lead times for contractors to get things done. A lot of times, I mean, we're having issues with getting bidders because if you give long bid times, they don't know what pricing is going to do. So you may not even get bidders. So what we're seeing is a lot of picking and choosing of the projects, and we're seeing prices all over the place, which I think people understand, but I want to keep hitting on that it's happening everywhere. And it's over the horizon, I don't think it's going to get any better, just with all the dollars that have to come down yet. So just be aware of that.
Do you have any idea when they might be coming down, or
Yeah,
are they
so,
just?
so the ARPA money, and again, that's not necessarily transportation money.
No, that's
But the ARPA money was those grants were supposed to be announced by now, middle of October. It got pushed back, I think, to 1st of December on when those dollars are going to come out. And like I said, think about $450 million across the state. The city has a couple grant opportunities in sewer to the east, water tank. There's some projects on Front Street, those type of things. Highway 100 to Oldham Park would be one of them. And the infrastructure money, those are kind of trickling out. I think it's supposed to be spent over the next 5 years, so those grant opportunities come up. But the point is the market's inundated right now with projects. And there's more money coming in on projects, which is all positive stuff. It's just, obviously, when supply and demand get out of whack, price gets out of whack as well. So I just want to make sure we're aware of that.
Okay. Thank you.
But also,
Anything to add to that?
also, you can't be bashful about submitting projects that would appear to be too far away from us to even consider.
What was that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
There are projects that, opportunity-wise, that would not even be considered in a normal
Correct.
time period, that we can't shy away from. If we've got those projects, I think it's important to keep throwing them out there. This is another project that could be added and could be funded. In many cases, of the city of Washington, you guys, as I remember, Darren, we needed stoplights and we needed lights and stuff and intersections, and basically did a lot of the studies ourselves, I think, or did some of it.
Yeah,
As a result, the money eventually came, and we got most of it, I think, or half of it, I think.
Well, we have that study right now, just as we mentioned, 100. So we're currently got the study with Lockmiller to go ahead in coordination with the developer that's
good.
looking where John had the screen up earlier with Casey's or whatever. So that's one stretch, and then we're looking at the stretch going out to Voss Brink Drive, et cetera. So, yes, by having those in place, that certainly helps. And like I said, we've got 2.6, I think, is what we requested from the governor's office to go ahead, and that not only includes the widening at 100 for the turning lane to go into the Oldenburg Industrial Park, but also some of the roadway itself within Oldenburg Industrial
great.
Park.
That's-
So,
the only reason for bringing that up is we were just made aware of it. We had a 7% increase on concrete going into next year, and we're being told a 15% increase on asphalt going into next year on top of today's dollars. So when these projects get let and we try to estimate what they are, we just need to understand that something that you could have got done for, let's just say 700,000, approaching $1 million, $1.1 million.
Yeah.
Just, we need to be cognizant of that.
Yeah. Very good, very good. Any other business? Do we have meetings in December generally? I think we do. Do we?
No, we never have.
No, not in December, November.
December, right. Yeah, I didn't think we did, but I wanted to just double check. If everybody thought we needed to have a meeting in December, we'll have it. Otherwise, I will forego that meeting till January.
I think November.
next month is the last one for the year.
So we will have one in December, is what you're saying?
We'll have one in
We
November.
will
not
not.
Not-
Well, we don't. I can't, I can't comment on that. We never have. Everybody's
I agree.
celebrating.
I agree. I just want to be sure, Thank you. Thank you. So there will not be a December meeting. All right, that's good. All right, anything else? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all very much.
Thank you. I can't say anything. Never have.
Well, I didn't think so, but I, this is 353 on and off.